How do you feel, about being in this organization, being pretty proactive or maybe reactive based on where we are in the offseason, but really not just standing pat, not sitting on their hands and going out and actively trying to raise the floor at both the tackle position and the linebacker position?
Yeah, it was gonna be a challenge, right? It was gonna be a challenge after they weren't able to address it this offseason really, in the draft or through free agency. And so they were relying on some names, some players to elevate their game, grow a little bit, within their game and develop a little more. But through the preseason, I think all of us started to see there are going to be some challenges, and there were going to be some challenges. So we were expecting as soon as some of these releases, especially if you're talking like veterans that, maybe there's a younger guy that was drafted or brought in and knocked him out of the starting position, like a Christian Kirksey, or,
Mhm.
he's getting up there in age and maybe his athleticism and overall play is maybe not what it was years ago. And when you started to see some of these guys get cut free, released, or waived, you just knew Brandon Beane wasn't going to stand pat. I mean, that's really his MO. He's always looking to improve. He tells us that pretty much every time the camera's in front of him. He's always looking to improve. It doesn't matter what the position is. And he's proven that even more so this off season as
Mhm.
the preseason, finishes. And you got to see some of these guys he picked up in Ifedi and Kirksey. Kirksey didn't play in the preseason, but he had a really good 2022.
Mm.
Ifedi played for the Lions this year, played a lot of good snaps. We're going to take a look at some of those,
Mhm.
and you're going to see that, hey, he's still got something left too. And maybe he doesn't, take Brown's spot. But if something happens to Brown, or if Brown continues to struggle, carries over from last year, hey, maybe Ifedi can come in and just stabilize the position. Maybe not someone that is going to be an answer long term, but
Mhm.
can stabilize the position. I think that's what the Bills and Brandon Beane are looking for by going out and getting Christian Kirksey and Germain Ifedi.
I think that's what we talked a lot about here. And, I think a lot of those sentiments I've echoed, speaking for myself as well. Like especially a right tackle, it would be amazing if the Bills had like an all pro right tackle or an all pro offensive line, but
Mm-hmm.
just that semblance of stability, like the biggest, and you and I both talked about it, like the biggest concern with Spencer Brown has been his pass protection. And it's just that roller coaster that he is. One rep, you're like, oh, is he putting it together? And then the next rep, you're like, nope, he just lost in about a quarter. He's not putting it together. And
Yeah.
it's so hard to have any type of consistency and sustainability as a quarterback or as an offense when you have that potential kind of deficiency always looming on a significant part of your offensive line. And they removed that piece at the left guard spot with Roger Saffold by bringing in Connor McGovern, but we're still sitting there with Spencer Brown. And as much as, Ryan Vandermark showed well and Alec Anderson showed well with his versatility, neither of them really spoke to the sustainability and stability piece when it came to pass protection at the right tackle spot. Ifedi, like you said, he's not this high ceiling guy. Maybe he comes in and has a fantastic year, but he is kind of who he is. But that's a positive for this team. He adds stability, he raises the floor of the tackle group, and he gives you a known quantity at the position should Spencer Brown continue to struggle.
Yeah, and he's got that starting experience. He's played in a lot of games, and most of his work was at right tackle. I think over the course of his career, he's got over 4,100 snaps at right tackle, over 1,600 at right guard. Now, this preseason, we got to see some of that versatility, and I do think that he's more of a swing tackle than, say, Ryan Vandermark, who they're kind of,
Mhm.
obviously we're leaning on before this signing, keeping him and making him part of the 53 initially.
Yeah.
I do think he's, as you said, the Bills have raised the floor of that position if we're talking swing tackle position. So that's always great with some starting experience, and his arms are just long, man,
Yes.
36 inches, and you'll see in a lot of these clips where he's not this like smoothest mover, he's not the most fluid athlete, and in
Mhm.
fact his legs are kind of going. He doesn't have much left in his legs. But you see his arms make up for so much. He wins first touch a lot, pretty good hand placement on a lot of his blocks, and he's able to absorb power, something that we've seen Spencer Brown struggle with. His
Mhm.
ability to absorb and anchor power, whether it's a power move from the jump or a speed to power move. You see Ifedi just use those long arms, win that first touch, and absorb a lot of that power with his arms. It's pretty cool to see when you look at the type of player he is and the athletic, specimen that Spencer Brown tested out as
Mm.
early on. and you're just seeing how those guys win in different ways, but also lose in different ways. So I'm excited about this because of, again, the type of player he is. You see right there. I look at this. I mean, this is not even what he's known for. He's at left tackle here. He's not known for his run blocking. He's more of a
Mhm.
pass blocker, right? But look
Mhm.
at the torque and hands on this play to displace that guy off to the side there on that run. So some good stuff here. I again, preseason, keep that context in mind. But do I think he beats out Spencer Brown? No, but I think that if Spencer Brown struggles, this guy does a lot of the things that Aaron Cromer likes when we're talking vertical set, hand usage, being able to anchor right at the doorstep of the quarterback. So I do think that Cromer obviously had a hand in picking this guy. Um, so I think Ifedi's I think they've elevated the floor of the swing tackle position, and especially at the right tackle position.
That was a good Cromer pun with the hand line. I like it. Well done. Yeah, I think that's a key point, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. With what you have in Spencer Brown, before Ifedi came on, if it's not working out with Spencer Brown, you really don't have another option because Alec Anderson is more suspect at if you want to have him be your right tackle, even though he's more center guard. They tried him on at right tackle against the Bears. He had some, rough reps in pass pro. He's going to be more of a roller coaster and unknown than Spencer Brown is. Ryan Vandermark, we've talked about Eric on this show, where at left tackle, we're like, oh, maybe he could be a guy. Right tackle, it's like he does not know how to play football. I hate Ryan Vandermark, the right tackle. Ryan Vandermark, the
Yeah,
left
it's
tackle,
rough.
I enjoy from time to time. But the point is, if Spencer Brown wasn't going to work out there, you had nowhere else to go. You had no one else to turn to. And at least here with Ifedi, yeah, you've got a veteran with good experience and good knowledge and know-how. And I echo a lot of your similar sentiments when it comes to his analysis. He's not the most mobile. He's not the most athletic, especially when you're juxtaposing him with Spencer Brown. I don't think his lack of athleticism or mobility is necessarily a concern, but it's not a strength. But this, like the clip that you're showing right here, is what he does so well. You mentioned his ability to anchor and also his ability to absorb. He just consistently his ability to just stop edge players' momentum and take it onto himself and just stalemate rushers. He might flat out just anchor right in the ground and stop, or he'll stalemate and almost steal your energy kind of. And the hand placement, you
Mm-hmm.
highlighted it right there, like so often, especially when he's winning. I feel like he's got big, strong hands based on you see what happens to edge defenders when he latches on, but it's not just that his hands are big and strong, it's the placement. He'll get them right into the numbers, right into the chest of an edge player. And then, Eric, you're pairing that good hand placement and those strong hands with those long arms. It gives
Mm-hmm.
him a significant advantage from rep to rep. And what's nice to see is a player who knows who he is and what he is and being able to play to that, consistently winning with that first touch, winning with that good hand placement, knowing who he is. And yeah, I like the pieces you mentioned about the run blocking. I thought he was pretty forceful as a down blocker on a lot of reps, being able to wash guys completely down, working well on combo blocks and creating some vertical displacement. And again, a lot of it is tied to his arm length, the hand strength, the hand placement. And yeah, he has a lot of the pieces that Aaron Cromer would like, which makes sense why he was brought in. And at the end of the day, yeah, it raises that floor. I don't think this is the
Mm-hmm.
sexiest move, but you're not going to get a sexy move as you approach September and the preseason is ending. But this is a good move for this team. It adds a known quantity, it raises the floor, and it gives you a legitimate person to turn to should Spencer Brown not work out or should Spencer Brown get banged up again.
Yeah, and this is a rep against the Jags where he's at left tackle. You see the set, and then just watch. He basically he's lost the half man relationship. You can see the guy is kind of by him already, but look at that left arm and the placement by the hand. Boom! Look at him right there. It's like a magnet, and I mean that's
Mm,
perfect hand placement. And then just watch what it does on this play. Like right there, you see he can't turn and bend and flatten. He can't turn the corner because of that long arm. And look at, I mean, he's extended. Look at the power behind that. He's able
mhm,
to absorb that power, that speed to power rush with basically his outside hand, his left hand, and he locks that guy down right at the doorstep of the quarterback. That's what I'm talking about. Like his long arms, he's going to win first touch. And if he can get his hands inside, like you're seeing on a lot of these reps, he's going to shut down that outside edge, that play and pass rush that, again, Spencer Brown has struggled with,
mhm.
allowing that outside edge, that outside hip in speed rushes. And I like this rep right here, vertical setting. We talk about vertical setting. He's not taking that 45-degree angle set right here. He's going vertical. So he's helping because of this wide alignment by this guy, he's got to help his guard a little bit. So he's going to vertically set and help and use that drag hand. You see
I was
that
gonna say
inside
that
hand right
drag
there?
hand. You point that drag hand
Yep.
out all the time when we do tape. I
Yes.
feel like he's throwing it on like 90% of his sets. Like he's consistently aware.
Yeah, and so he uses and offensive linemen use that drag hand usually as another set of eyes. They always say it's another set of eyes because
Hmm.
a lot of times he's looking at this guy out here. He uses that inside hand as a set of eyes. So when a offense or a pass rusher hits that hand, now he knows he can't keep vertically setting and gaining depth towards the quarterback. He needs to become firm to help that guard out. So now that he's right there, look how he just hangs with him, becomes firm with him, and then as that pass rusher approaches and starts to get into the rush, now he's there, and again, balls out, and he's right there to really help form this pocket
Hmm.
because of that vertical set and using that drag hand. This is something, again, Cromer asks a lot of his tackles and guard when it comes to these wide pass rush angles. We saw it in that Steelers game, those wide 9 rushers, outside linebackers that are out wide with those 4-eye techniques, defensive tackles like this. You're going to see that a lot because Cromer likes to keep his tackles on an island a lot and the interior offensive linemen working together to hold the depth of the pocket, which is what we always talk about. So I like this vertical set. I like his help using that drag hand. And then again, pass rushers committing out wide. He can go out there and get them and balls out.
Yeah, he had a couple reps thing against the Giants in the first preseason game where, towards as the game progressed, some of those edge rushers were lining up in wider alignments and trying to beat him around the arc. And my thought was like, uh-oh, is he going to be able to get there? But he's got enough mobility. And then, yeah, with the length, even this one kind of like to a degree as the edge rusher tries to test him around the edge, you see this type of action from Ifedi almost regularly when guys try to test the arc around him. Like he can just get his
Mm-hmm.
hands on you and escort you and just kind of set you around your quarterback, allowing, in this case, Teddy Bridgewater to either step up or, depending on what's happening on the inside, you can allow your quarterback to either step up in the pocket or escape out the front door. And so his ability with those long arms and his hands, I think it also pairs well with Josh Allen's play style because you have that anchoring ability that can either secure the pocket so Allen doesn't feel skittish or feels like he has to bail, or having that ability to just either push guys and literally chuck them or actually get his hands on them and ride them around the arc so Allen can either step up or escape. He offers a calming presence. And also within that too, I like you. We've seen it a lot in these clips. I think he's patient, but I don't want people to think that means like he's passive. Like he just seems very calm. I don't know if it's his experience or confidence or whatever, but you'll see him in a lot of his sets, even when he jumps out and is like in more aggressive with some jump sets or even more of an aggressive 45. You
Mm-hmm.
see him he's patient. Like he's waiting for his man to get close. He has a plan with his hands. He knows what he wants to do. He knows where he wants to place those hands and what he's going to do against the edge rusher. I just think he offers a nice calming presence, whether he's a
I
depth
like
guy.
that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So whether he's a depth guy or he somehow gets into the starting lineup, it's a nice calming presence on that offensive line rather than the kind of herky jerkiness you can get at times now.
Yeah, and he's patient too, because a lot of
Yeah.
times on the third kick slide is usually when a pass rusher assumes that a punch is coming out. So 1, 2, 3, and right here he's showing his hands like he's gonna punch out. And what does he do? He makes him disappear. He uses a circle
Hmm.
punch. And so what is this guy doing? He's punching out.
He
He's
throws
now
his
showing
hands.
his mode.
Yep.
So what happens now? He can lock him up. And I love your point about how he rides guys around the arc. Because most of the time, what Spencer Brown does, again, slightly different, is he's got the athleticism to, get a piece of this guy and then run him wide of the spot. Ifedi doesn't have that athleticism. So what does he do? He uses more of his arm length and his
Hmm.
power and grip to lock that guy up and not allow him to run the arc here and then maybe circle back up the pocket there to get Josh Allen. So he locks him down in a different way than Spencer Brown can. And again, that comes back to what you said at the top. He's understands his own strengths and
Mm.
weaknesses, and he understands how to overcome them or mitigate them in many ways. And so he wins in a different way that Spencer Brown does. So it'll be interesting to see, his role and how quickly he can adapt to this system. Like I said, a lot of the techniques he's going to be used to, especially when we're talking his time with Detroit. But
Mm.
he obviously has to learn a lot of the ins and outs of the pass protections, the checks, and things like that. So it will take some time, guys. But I do see him fitting in rather well. I mean, I had heard that he was already in Buffalo, and the background check on him was already done. when I
Nice.
started posting this film yesterday, and then it came out. I think it was like an hour later from Aaron Wilson that he visited, and then I think officially he signed today. But
Mm,
just I think it's a good signing considering all
mhm,
of the guys that were out on the market on the street after the preseason and all the releases and whatnot. I like being able to bring him in because Shell was more of a run blocker, and I think when it came to that portion of his game, I think he's probably much better than Ifedi. But in pass blocking, Ifedi is much better. And Shell's retirement, whether he got wind that maybe he wasn't going to make the roster or not, I think that really screwed the Bills. I think that really screwed them when you're talking the depth. And it's obvious that Bean was not happy with just keeping Vandemark and having, break the glass guys in Ryan Bates, who can play tackle, but more are interior guys.
yeah.
Same with Alec Anderson. I think Ifedi can at least lock up the right tackle position. And depending on what they want to do with Vandemark, I mean, hopefully just leave him to the left side. But I think Ifedi was a good signing with all things considered and how things transpired throughout the preseason, throughout the end of camp, preseason, and then again, kind of during this
Mhm.
cut period.
Yeah, and from a pass protection standpoint, I'm happier with Ifedi than I was with Brandon Shell. I had concerns and
Mm,
worries about Shell. But exactly to your point, yeah, like it's a good signing, but especially where we are in the offseason, it's not easy to get somebody who can contribute to your football team, and he can. And I know a lot of people, or not a lot of people, a couple people got at me last night just throwing up pressure stats from his time in Chicago and previous stops, but I think his time in Detroit helped him out being under Hank Fraley there, who's been a
hmm
really good offensive line coach. And I mean, granted, they've drafted well and developed, but they've got a unit of dudes in Detroit on the offensive line. And some of that is a testament to the scouting and the players themselves, but some of it is also due to Hank Fraley and what he's done being there, I think, since 2018 as the assistant O line coach and then the official offensive line coach. So, Ifedi comes from a well-coached group, now comes into another well-coached group with Aaron Cromer. So very nice to see that addition.